Hey, everybody, welcome back to I Know a Guy. I'm Anthony, and this is the podcast where connections thrive. Each episode, we spotlight inspiring entrepreneurs, professionals, and individuals doing amazing things. Together, we'll grow your circle, spark collaborations, and discover new opportunities. Today, we're meeting Dr. Kenneth Martz, a licensed psychologist with over 30 years of experience in addiction treatment and management. An international best-selling author of Manage My Emotions, Dr. Martz has impacted the field through his leadership roles, research, and over 100 presentations worldwide. How are you doing today, Dr. Ken?
Awesome. Glad to be here.
Yeah, no, I was excited to have you on. You're doing a lot of awesome things and things that people really need to start taking more serious. So I was excited to have you on, kind of, pour into us a little bit and, see who out there could benefit from getting to know you a bit. So to start off, where are you calling in from? Where are you located?
I'm just outside of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania and been here for the last decade or so. I love it. I've been around the country through the years from California to New Jersey. So but this is home now, and it's a great space.
Awesome. Well, how'd you like that Super Bowl?
It was right on time to be here. What can I say?
Yeah, no,
Awesome.
definitely a good turnout for you, and for a good portion of the country. I know there was some stuff, but anyway, moving past that. So you've been there for a while now. If you have friends coming in that have never visited before, where are you going? What are you guys doing, and where are you going for dinner?
Oh, absolutely. We love all the stuff around here. They've got such a range of good places to go and do everything around Philly. We're just outside in the suburbs, so we got a nice way to stay quiet as well as go downtown if we wanted to go to a game, see the Liberty Bell, or be back for a quiet evening at a local restaurant. So you gotta love the range.
Well, what kind of restaurant? If you had to pick, which one are you under? Like, what genre of food?
Oh, you got to go with the Thai food place. So there's one right down the street, really well done, Thai basil, and they have a good range there.
That's awesome. Finally somebody's saying something I can get on board with. A bunch of the interviews I've been doing lately have been saying sushi, and it's not me. So anything else, but yeah, Thai sounds good. Yeah, so awesome. So what can you tell us about what you do?
So I love this work. This is one of the places where this is different is that it's life-changing on a daily basis. And I can never stop the moment when someone realizes, oh, that's what I'm doing this, or, oh, it doesn't have to be this way. I remember one of my clients turns to me and suddenly says, thank you. I'm like, okay, you're welcome. What did I do? I've been working with my anxiety for years. I've been to different counselors through the years, and you're the first person who hasn't treated it like it was a terminal illness. And they're the first person that gave me the hope this can change. Fast forward, doing great, growing the business, making all kind of changes in the world, and often very much faster than people even realize. We see that a lot in the addiction side, but also a lot in the emotional side, which hits so many darn people.
Yeah, it really does. I think all of us go through it at some point, and all of us at this exact moment know somebody going through it. So there's a lot, and it's kind of brushed under the rug a lot of times, or depending on who you are, you might just, I just got to swallow it and get through it. And it's like, well, that's probably not the healthiest thing to do, especially, for men. So
yeah, exactly. Exactly. I can remember a time when, back when I was still in school, 100 years ago, I was doing that, rushing through everything, being the best I can, being amazing, and sitting there in the back row, fighting with the professor over, I got a 99. I wanted that one last point, because I just had to, get that extra piece there. And especially as guys, it's so easy to get into that drive and passion and being a high performer. And it takes some time to realize, oh, how do we balance that? And sometimes we can be really, really successful and not have to be working quite so hard, which makes things a whole heck of a lot easier and gives a lot more freedom for folks to be, redefining that professional growth, which you sometimes can't see internally. So especially for guys, finding that balance of my passion, my emotion, and my intellect all together makes a world of difference.
Absolutely. How'd you get started doing this? Is this kind of what you always planned on doing? Has been the lifelong goal, or was it just kind of something you fell into?
when I very first started, I didn't know what the heck I wanted to do. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do the psychology thing because it works for everything. If no matter what you're dealing with people. And what I found out was, of course, what one of my favorite supervisors used to tell me, it's not that I'm a better counselor than you are. It's that I'm a more experienced patient. And so once I got into doing the work on myself, I started with some of those transformations internally. I started to make those changes. And it's like, oh, this is why we need to do this. This is why I can't do another 50 years of trying to get that perfect score because it's not sustainable. And so sometimes the transformation starts with ourselves. And then from there, it also helps to know this is the way out when we're working with folks. And so started out by accident, but my gosh, once I found it and understood it, I knew it was there, but I couldn't articulate it until I got a little further into it. So love the work.
Well, now that you're all the way into it and you love the work, what is it about it that you love the most?
Yeah. One of the things that there used to be, there is an old quote by Henry David Thoreau, that the masses are living their lives in quiet desperation, and to go to the woods and get away for a minute and figure out what's real and authentic. Because when we're busy up in our heads, it's really easy to lose out on the authenticity, on what I'm really feeling, about how do I connect with my family, with myself, with my coworkers, in a way that leaders really need to do. As I'm a credible and authentic leader, people will care enough to want to work and do the work of the team rather than the cold separation there. So really having that clarity of that internal heart that we bring to our work makes a world of difference as we lead others. So
I got you. So what does the avatar look like of somebody that you can best help? Or what are the pain points that somebody's dealing with that if they're going through XYZ, you're the person that they should be talking to?
Yeah. So very often, the folks that I'm working with are actually great leaders and they're already doing good work. But there's this block, there's this limit, there's this, I just can't get any further. So I gave the example already of where it's possibly working so hard that you just can't see beyond your lenses, beyond that little focus area. And sometimes having somebody outside of that perspective really helps to really make the difference, where it's a mindset shift. So for example, when I had my first job and I was working the 9 to 5 with clocking the hourly rate, that was great, but I couldn't envision a different type of pay structure. I couldn't envision having a higher salary. Then I became a manager, and then I became a manager of a division. Then I worked for the governor's office and moved on through, but I wouldn't have envisioned that before. And so sometimes just our mindset blocks don't let us begin to see beyond the hourly wage or the structure that I've been working in. So what will get you from a salary of $10,000 to $100,000 is different than what will get you from $100,000 to $1 million. So really needing to recognize what are some of those mental blocks, but also then closely tied to that, especially as guys, if we're not as in touch with the feelings, there can be some emotional blocks there too, that I'm scared of it. I don't know what to do, and I'm a leader, so I can't let anybody know that. I have to keep this mask on all the time of being perfect, and if you can't ask for help somewhere, you end up struggling a lot more than it's necessary.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot lately that's becoming more forefront, where people are, kind of bringing up more like, hey, men typically go through these problems, or they're starting to be more comfortable kind of bringing it to the forefront a little bit. I don't know, in your opinion, is there a shift in that direction?
Yes, there has been a lot of range where we needed to be on our own and be focused on our productivity, but as there's been a lot of change culturally lately over the years, and also the changes in the workforce, which really have caused a bit of structure change to really be understanding the value of the teams more than we have in the past. That we really are stronger together, even if we're starting our own business, even when we're doing a solopreneur setup, that we still are always collaborating with others. And so really moving beyond that one-on-one mindset to a collaborative mindset. So for example, through years of degrees in school, it was all focused on everybody's going to go get their private practice, be their one person, one man show who's going to handle everything. You can't handle everything. Once you get out there, it's like, how do I find referrals? Well, if I'm working with men, who can I work with their wives? Or if I'm working with advertising, how do you bring people in? You can't do things alone, and you can't develop all the skills at all the times. And so, again, that mindset shift really culturally as well, to be able to say, hey, where can we collaborate and bring mutual growth to each other in ways that help each other? So really, definitely been more of a move towards being a little more honest and collaborative.
In that same vein, what are good power partners for you, or what does that look like? What are other industries or professionals out there that you find, just your personal collaborations in?
Absolutely. Within this field, there's a ton of them, and this is really useful for folks to think about. No matter what field you're in, there are a ton of people. So just picking on men with anxiety, for example, there could be a whole range of how are folks managing that. So you've got everything from guys going out and getting personal trainers or fitness areas. You've got collaborations for life coaches. You've got collaborations with marketing people. You've got collaborations with any business owner, might have some need, because every bit. And so I joke about it when I started off that if I worked in psychology, anything works with that. Same thing if I would have got my business degree, which I went back for the MBA later, because every business is a business. And so both of these two skills are going to need each other. So any business owner is also going to have that same limitation of, how do I grow my business? How do I expand it? How do I get myself some more free time? How do I get a little more personal fulfillment and freedom to do what I want? Sometimes that's money, but sometimes it's more than money. How do I get that time to, go for an ice cream and hang with my child, or, play some basketball with my friends? How to build the life that I really want.
That makes a lot of sense, and I had never thought of it before, that, somebody that's dealing with somebody with anxiety, they might partner very well with somebody that's in, a trainer or just a health coach in general, because it's tied, right? If you feel bad, mentally, you're going to start lacking in the other area, and vice versa. So they go back and makes perfect sense. And I don't know why. I mean, it's one of those things that you don't necessarily realize until somebody says it. So that's interesting. I really like that.
And it's a balance too, because some folks get into these even got hats of them, the no fear, and it seems like a good slogan. It seems like a good, I'm going to be strong. But if I had no fear, I'm going to walk out in front of a car and get hurt. That's where, again, about managing my emotions, find that balance where it's not too much, not too little, because courage is not the absence of fear and anxiety. It's the doing what I need to do, using it as the fuel to drive me into success, rather than getting flooded like a deer in the headlights and then freezing. And then some people will be sitting in front of the computer. I don't want to send this email. I don't want to do that. Let me just go, check my social media instead for a while. All the little subtle ways where our anxiety is hidden, our overload is hidden, and we can get out of our own way. We can find the ways to balance that.
No, fear's necessary. Just don't let it drive, right?
Exactly.
Awesome. What advice would you give a new or aspiring entrepreneur?
Absolutely. But you don't need to do this alone. So often, especially as guys, we're trying to do everything from the beginning to the end. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to get a coach. If you're working with somebody, if you're working with a coach, a psychologist, whatever, and they don't have a coach, you need a different coach. Because we're all growing. We're all leaning forward. We're all want to have those resources where we're not doing it alone. because if I don't know something, I know somebody in my network that knows how to do that I can connect you with. So you don't have to have it all, so long as you have the resources available to help to get you there.
Absolutely. Fantastic advice. And that just comes with maturity too. A lot of us get started saying, this is me, I got to do it all. You don't. If somebody asks you to do something, your answer doesn't have to be yes. It can be
Right.
no, but I got it.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So how can people effectively manage their emotions?
Well, I usually think about that really as a 3-step model. First is awareness, and this is where most of us struggle. I don't even know what's wrong yet. I just know I'm struggling. And pinpointing what exactly is the source. What's the cause? Is it current? Is it old? Is it a combination of the both? Is it a habit? Is it a mindset? So first thing issue is finding out, pinpointing the causes of what the emotional block is. Next is the emotional change. So the tools for anger management are a little different than the tools for anxiety than dealing with the grief. So what my specific issue is, I'm a toolbox kind of guy. All the clients I work with get my entire toolbox, my favorite stuff from 30 years of practice, and there's tools for everything under the sun in there. And I'll kind of help to sort you through the toolbox because you're a beginner at it. But that's the work. Once you know what's going on, what's the right tool for this issue? And what's the right tool for that issue? And then the third process is, now that I made a change, how do I stay there? So what do I put in place? So I've learned this issue. I've made this change. Now, how do I maintain a practice? So some people have been on a diet and you lose the 5 pounds or 10 pounds and then you don't maintain it. So that maintenance of the gains, maintenance of that confidence, that setting up not only setting up for success, but then setting up to maintain that success and continue to grow so that you have automated as much as possible ways of an ongoing practice.
How can mindfulness practices support emotional well-being?
So I've got a ton of tools in the toolbox. My favorite one absolutely is meditation. Some people struggling with it, and usually what's going on in there, they're just doing it wrong. Or they're trying to sit down and do a 30-minute meditation, and it's like they're not ready for that yet. So usually just start folks with breathing, just plain breathing, abdominal breathing, fastest way to bring down the anxiety, fastest way to bring down that fight or flight response in the body. And by the way, nobody has to know you're even doing it. If you're stressed in a meeting, you can take a breath and keep on talking. So starting with some of those tools like the breathing to get back to center, the meditation is the mental discipline of it. The mind's going to wander. It's okay. The point is, you're sitting there and breathe, and your mind goes, squirrel. Oh yeah, breathing. And you breathe a couple of seconds longer and say, what am I going to have for lunch? Oh yeah, breathing. So without the judgment on it, you are learning to recognize where the mind is running all over, through Facebook scrolling, and get back to center. So finding that mindfulness is what's going to train my brain to be able to stay focused, to complete a task, to be clear, and also to get clear not only in my head but in my heart. In those places where, when you think about some of the people that you really respect, one of the things that we often like about them is the way that they speak from the heart, whether or not you put it in those words, that they have an honesty, a directness, a courage that comes not just from the head, but it changes our words and our tone, so gotta love it.
Absolutely. You can definitely tell when somebody's, speaking authentically about something that they're passionate about. It's just night and day difference. So absolutely. How can men with anxiety support their work-life balance?
Oh, this is one of the other areas that shows up all the time. So once you get the head and the heart together, myself and a lot of folks that I work with, all of a sudden you're going along and somebody gets sick. All of a sudden you're going along and a family member needs a surgery or some other illness. And all of a sudden work time stops, So there can be big bumps, and there can also be the day-to-day bumps. I'm still checking my emails at 8 o'clock at night. So critical elements, if I don't do things to recharge my battery, whatever that means, and this would vary a lot depending upon the individual program or challenge that the person is facing, goes back to that awareness thing first. How do I begin to structure my day that there are times where I have uninterruptible times, where I actually turn off the phone, for example, or I'm not going to respond at certain hours? It was one of those things where I remember back when I was doing my dissertation, and it went on forever, and there was never a time when it wasn't sitting in the corner staring at you. And so several of us got together and we said, you know what? We're creating guilt-free Friday nights. There's an expectation that Friday nights, it is all turned off. We are all going out to have fun. And, it's creating that freedom to balance that. Some people do that formally with their schedule, like a block of time. Some people do it with, I'm going to stop work at 5 p.m. Some people think about, how do I begin to structure my work schedule so that I can have vacations, so that I can be away from the office for a day or a week to recharge? Or if there were a health condition where I got the flu for a couple of days, that things don't fall apart if I can't be there for a day. So structuring the work that I'm not all the way up against the edge, and that's a process to build that, but really valuable too. So lots of ways to work with that.
Absolutely. There's a lot of people that are pushed up against the edge, and they're like, if something happens tomorrow and is wrong, then we're in trouble.
Yeah.
So you can't afford to be sick, can't afford to have a day. Don't be there.
Absolutely.
30 years of experience. We're talking about, anxiety, the human mind, and all this stuff. Way more than we can get into in a 20, 30-minute conversation. But just in general, is there anything that I missed or anything that you wanted to add?
So much is also included in the work-life balance conversation, that there's a lot into what are your values, and are you living a life that's in balance with those values? So, for example, some people in that leisure time really love to spend it with their families. Others really need their friends' time. Others are really committed that they want to donate their heart back to the community. So even within those pieces, even financial, some people really love having savings. Some people really about the future. Some people are really about what they can buy with those things, and they enjoy the use of it and the pleasure of it. So within all the areas of life, which of those are really valuable to you? So you can really steer to those as well, because that awareness piece, what's my personal value I want to use to make the particular changes and make those consistent for my life.
So like I was mentioning, there's a million other questions out there. For those that have those, where can they find you? How can they get a hold of you?
I am all over. You can find me on Facebook, on X. The easiest way to start is drkenmartz.com, and it has the link there to all my other resources. I am regularly doing trainings and online materials in person. So I love this material as well as my books. So easily accessible.
Perfect. I'm going to put all that in the description as well, so it's even easier to find. You just got to click on it. So absolutely reach out, have that conversation with Dr. Ken. If you deal with anxiety, if you're going through some stuff, if you're stressed, if you're on the edge, you don't have to be, right? It might feel like you do because you've been there for a long time. A lot of us unfortunately have been, but it doesn't have to be, right? You can get that. You can have your guilt-free Fridays. You can have those days. Just talk to an expert. Talk to somebody that's going to be able to help you out. Dr. Ken is an awesome resource for that, so feel free to reach out to him. Otherwise, if somebody would like to get a hold of me, you can find me at ikag.me. You can find more episodes, subscribe to our newsletter, connect with our growing community of awesome people like Dr. Ken. But if you or somebody you know would like to be interviewed, you can also apply on that website. But Dr. Ken, I really appreciate it. There's a lot of people out there that are going through some stuff that they need people like you. They need to have those conversations. They need to know that, a lot of us go through it, and you don't have to be stuck in it. You can get to the other side. So really happy you're doing what you're doing. Keep it up. Let's all go out. Let's have an awesome day and grow our circles. All right.
Thank you.